I'm Peter Macloon, and this is Erotic Story Hour. It was late at night. Drift and his business partner were drinking in a hotel bar. It was the last leg of their business trip in Nashville, and they were exhausted. Only a few other people milled around the bar. "I can't believe this business trip is finally over," said Drift. "I was starting to think we'd never sell all those units." "I can't believe it either," said his business partner. "If we hadn't made that big sale with the client, we would have never sold those units." "I'll drink to that," said Drift. Drift took several big gulps of an old-fashioned. As he put his glass down, he spotted a woman, smoking the longest, thinnest cigarette he'd ever seen. She stared out into the night, all alone. His business partner interrupted his gaze. "Speaking of units," he said, "check out that one over there." "Come on, partner," said Drift. "You know I'm married to my wife, and we just had a baby 36 months ago." "Well, I'm beat," said his business partner. "I'm gonna head up to our hotel room and sleep our big business trip off. I can't wait to get back and tell the boss how many units we sold. You coming with?" Drift was staring directly across the room, hardly paying attention. "I'll catch up to you," he said. "I have a feeling my night's just getting started." Drift rose out of his seat, buttoning his jacket up one button as he approached the woman. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, "but I've heard that drinking alone is illegal in Nashville." She turned her head. "Well, I'd hate to break the law," she whispered. "Maybe I could help you out," said Drift. "Well, that would be awfully kind of you," said the woman. She smiled and sipped her drink with softly closed eyelids. "I'm Drift, by the way. It's a pleasure to meet you." Jessica smiled a sexy smile. "I'm Jessica. The pleasure's all mine." Drift turned towards the bartender. "I'll take a water," he said. "I guess you have somewhere to be," said Jessica. "Ah, hell. How about a whiskey?" he said. Jessica looked him up and down. "You aren't from around here, are you?" Drift looked down at his business attire. "I guess it's pretty obvious," he said. "Well, I don't mind," said Jessica. She took a long drag from her cigarette. "I think a man who does business is sexy. You must have a lot of beautiful women, hungry for your attention." "Well, actually, I'm married," said Drift. He fiddled with the ring on his left hand. "Ah, a married man," said Jessica. "Out late at night, drinking with another woman. That doesn't sound very responsible of you, Drift." "What's wrong with a little extracurricular activity?" he said. Jessica laughed. "You came to the right table." Drift took a moment, contemplating how she might react to what he was about to say. "I have a flight tomorrow morning," he said, "but I feel it would be discourteous of me not to invite you to my hotel." Jessica leaned in. "What kind of employee would you be if you didn't charge the minibar to your expense account?" Drift squirted grapeseed oil into his palms liberally and rubbed it all over his chest. His tie got all heavy and oily. Drift lifted Jessica up and laid her down in a dresser drawer. She raised her head to the pendulum-like tie and sucked on it with her wet mouth. Drift gasped in ecstasy. Drift picked her up again, unsatisfied with his choice of boink spot. Drift humped chaotically, like a jackhammer in a child's arms. His fast and deranged semi-hard boner struck various objects in the room, knocking them to the floor. Jessica moaned, impressed. Lewd clarinet music filtered in through the sexual steam rising off of their bodies. Drift and Jessica kneeled together on the bed, surrounded by platters of aphrodisiacal foods. They fed each other chocolate-covered artichoke hearts. and saffron oysters, which Drift hastily encouraged Jessica to scarf down. With a mouth full of wet, clammy meat, Drift lunged at Jessica and flopped like an abducted lungfish. Jessica came behind him and kneaded his glutes like a squeeze box. Drift arched in complete ecstasy. Jessica packed 90% dark cocoa into Drift's anus like a spring-loaded magazine. Drift bit down hard on his lower lip and started to bleed. Jessica, with chocolate-covered hands, fingered a drop of Drift's hot, wet blood and dragged it down her tongue. Now Jessica's legs were in a V in the air, and Drift emerged from her groin, his glasses askew in his face and all fogged up. Jessica seductively eyed him and pushed his eager head back down, where the sounds of an underwater propeller drowned out the sex horn music. She threw her head back in elation. Then the CD ended, and Drift had aggressive but weak missionary-style sex with her as he grunted through a waterfall of sweat. Drift and Jessica sat in the hotel bubble bath. They were both smoking Magnum cigars. Cigar smoke and bath steam filled the air. "That was something," said Drift. "Sure was," said Jessica. They clinked their champagne glasses and took a drink. "Did you come?" said Drift. "Almost," said Jessica. "Me too," said Drift. The next morning, Jessica rolled over in bed, expecting to feel Drift's male chest. But instead, she caught the absence of a man. Disappointed, she reached over to the side table for her morning chaw. But instead, she found a note. "Dear Jessica," it read, "never did get to try Nashville's famous hot chicken. But at the very least, I got to nibble on your spicy little niblet. Regards, Drift Merlot." "Oh, Drift," she sighed. "Thank you." I'm Peter Macloon, and this was Erotic Story Hour.